The opinions expressed on the Custody Queen Show are for informational purposes only and are not a substitute for personal, professional legal advice. The persons discussed are fictional and not based on actual clients.
Thought it was love, had kids in between. You can count on us, we're the Custody Queens. Yeah, you can count on us, we're the Custody Queens.
Happy Saturday! Samantha McBride and I are so excited to be here this morning with you guys on Go Country.
Yes, and we want to give a big shout out to the Brothers on Law. You can watch them right before our show at 8 a.m. every Saturday.
We have so many great topics today. I'm seriously getting so many fun, cool vibes today, and there's going to be a lot of conversation between Sam and I. And we're also going to share with you where you draw the line in a custody case. That is where your personal life can affect your custody case. But before we get there, let's do my favorite TMI.
TMI stands for too much information, and I'm going to go first today.
Dun, 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 dun.
What animal would you want to be reincarnated as? I think I'd go with eagle. I think I'd really like to fly around, scope things out. It's a strong animal. I think I'd have a lot of fun, great eyesight, claws, kind of vicious, but, you know.
Yeah, just kind of scoping out everybody.
A strong bird.
Yeah, I like that. I would go with the tiger. Rawr. You know, I think that I have the tiger in me for real.
You do.
Like, especially when I get to court, and even when it's really not a very contentious case, sometimes I'm so passionate that the tigress comes out in me. So
I see that.
I think I would be the tiger.
I agree.
All right, now my turn. Okay, here we go. If you could teach your pet to say one thing, what would it be? Oh, this is a good one. If I could teach my my poodle or my doodle to say one thing, it would say, "Honey, pick up your clothes off the floor and put it in the laundry bin."
Is that for Jeremy?
That is a shout out to my husband. Yeah, I really think that it's almost like if I had a parrot and it was saying something over, it's kind of like reinforcement, positive reinforcement. The more that my dog is able to communicate to my husband to put his clothes in the bin instead of right next to the bin, that would be a dream.
I think that's a great topic, actually, is clothes. And Kristen and I were talking about this earlier this week and kind of the what not to wear to court. Kristen, what are your thoughts?
Oh, this is such a great topic. And Sam and I have been doing this a long time, and I can tell you what I have seen people wear to court is mind-blowing. And the process is so crazy for me because, you know, Sam and I are in suits every single time we are in the courthouse. Even if we are just going there with each other, we always try to look, you know, our Sunday best. But these people get dressed, and then they look themselves in the mirror, and they say, "Gosh, this looks so great for court today." Like, that process actually happens. So, Sam, what is the best outfit that you have seen at court?
I've definitely seen a mini glitter skirt and some clear heels. And I'm not hating on the mini skirt because I think those are very cute and that's great. It has its place, just not in the courthouse. And I would say it's not about wearing a suit per se, especially, you know, a lot of people don't have, you know, the money to go out and buy an expensive new outfit and look great for court, and that's okay, but you want to dress conservative. Would that be something?
Yeah, I always tell people that when you are deciding what to wear to court, you know, this is kind of sounds cliche, but, you know, wear something that you would be proud to be wearing in front of your family, or that you could wear to a wedding or a funeral.
Or a job interview.
Just something professional. You just have to be able to run through that process that says, remember, a judge is going to be looking at you while your attorney is arguing the facts of your case, which are a direct representation of who you are. And I can tell you the best outfit that I ever saw, it was years ago, but I remember it was December because it was raining. And there was a woman in the courthouse that was wearing knee-high boots all the way up, to her thigh, and she had shorts that barely covered a specific area and a shirt that didn't even cover a whole area. And I remember thinking, and I'm watching this case as I'm in the galley and where the attorneys sit, and this person was trying to get the court to make a visitation order, and she was trying to explain to the court on how her past should not be relevant at that hearing, and how she has changed, and she's a really good mom. And I am not second guessing that person was or was not a good mom, but your first appearance to the judge is that judge's, it's his first impression.
And it's a distraction.
It is. And you, again, your appearance is a representation of who you are and the facts that you are trying to present to the trier of fact, which is the judge.
So I would say this is not a situation where less is more.
No.
More is more.
More is
quite
more.
Quite literally.
No flip-flops. No, no jerseys. No Clippers jerseys. No Lakers jerseys. Gosh, no Green Bay jerseys. And that's almost always got a place in my heart. But just look, like you are proud of who you are and that you want to go in there and put your best self forward. And a tip that you will always get from Samantha McBride and I from the onset of your case is tips on how to dress for court. So that would never be an issue if you hired us.
So, Kristen, today's topic is kind of interesting. We're going back and forth regarding where a person draws the line. What does that mean to you?
So what that means to me is that once you become a parent, it's almost like an instantaneous evolution of growth. At least it was for me. And decisions that I would have made 10 years ago, I clearly would not make today. And that is even more so important when you are going through a public custody case. Because
you're in the limelight.
You are. You're in the limelight. You are being looked at through a microscope. You are being looked at from the other party, the other party's friends, family, possibly a private investigator, the judge, a mediator, a social worker.
Yeah, and Kristen and I will talk about this a lot, but perception's everything, especially when you're going through a custody case, a divorce case, and what you do on social media or what you do when you're out has that huge and direct effect. You could be doing something that isn't necessarily wrong, but you're perceived that way. So you want to make sure you keep your circle close, right?
Yeah, and that's something that we repeat often, and I think that's something that Sam and I have both learned as we've grown in our careers and with time and age, is that you should really keep your circle close, especially when you're going through a family law case, and really just in life. I mean, I can tell you that quality is far more important to me than quantity, and that really relates to career, my personal life, and my family. It's just you really want to keep your circle close, and who can you trust, who can you not trust. But when you're going through this process of a custody case or a family law case, yes, it's public in the sense that your case registry is available online most of the time unless you are unmarried, and then it's confidential. But really keep your circle close. Don't share the facts of your case with your coworkers or friends of friends. Don't post anything on social media. And we talk about that a lot because it's very important in custody and family law cases. It truly is.
So one example of a boundary that you want to put in place for yourself is partying, right?
Heck yeah.
And, whether or not you're a big partier, I think it's a really relevant topic and it's a relevant subject because you need to make sure you're keeping your kids safe, but you also need to make sure that the perception is in line with that safety.
Absolutely, Sam. There's a time and there's a place for everything. And I am definitely not saying that as an adult and as a wife or a husband, you cannot go and have a good time. But you have to make the distinction of, is there a safety risk to the children? Is this something I should post on social media? And who's going to be looking at this? And what consequence will Saturday night have for the future?
For a long time, because something can happen in one weekend, and not even just for court, but in general, it can have a very devastating effect on your children or on your case.
So an example of where to draw the line would be, for instance, you and your girlfriend, you want to go out and you want to go to a new winery in Temecula, and you think, hey, I can drive there, I can have a couple glasses of wine, it's not a big deal, choose my limit, and we're good to go. And I love, like we all know, a good charcuterie tray and some wine, but I also know that I have to Uber, because in that example, you go out with your girlfriends, 2 turns into 3, maybe 4. And again, I'm not saying that you can't do that, but what I am saying is that you should make arrangements and you should do it so in a safe manner. Now, the caveat to this example is, if you have an order in a custody case that says that you should not drink or drive, and there's oftentimes limitations 12 hours prior to or during your custodial time, then you shouldn't be drinking at all. You shouldn't be drinking, period, because that really is the best decision for you and your case.
Yeah, so in general, you have to follow your court order. You're never going to get an attorney, or you shouldn't have an attorney that's ever telling you to go against a court order. You need to follow it if it's in there. If it's not in there, it's an opportunity to co-parent, and that kind of goes back to what Kristen and I are always talking about with co-parenting. If you have a fun weekend planned, we're not saying call the other parent and say, hey, I'm trying to go get drunk, but if there is a time frame where you're not spending meaningful time with your children, work on it. If you can reach out to that other parent, that's a perfect time to co-parent and allow your children to spend some extra time with mom or dad. And you can then go have some safe fun and not worry about a, ex parte notice or court order hitting you the next day.
Yeah, and a few tips is, I would definitely utilize Uber or Lyft. Never think that you are good to go, because the consequences far exceed any potential benefit, which I see none. And remember, checking in at places on social media, probably not the brightest idea whenever you're involved in a custody case. It's just not. And actually, for the general public, you don't need to check in everywhere you go. I mean, I love these people that think I have to check in at the gym every single time I go because it's like I didn't work out if I didn't go. A lot of times, especially in a custody case, is less is more. So in court, more is more. But then in your personal life, less is sometimes more.
Less is more. Keep it private.
Keep that circle close. Sam, you've been around my kids enough to know that these little tiny humans, they repeat a lot of what people say and do, especially myself, and they also mimic us, and they also replicate our actions.
Yeah, Riley, actually, Kristen's 6-year-old, came into my office the other day and told me to get to work and pointed her finger at me. It was very cute.
She does that a lot. She walks in my office, she shuts the door, and she tells me that she's the boss and this is her office. And I've noticed that even my 3-year-old, they're very aware of me as a mom, my feelings, my emotions, and they repeat a lot of things that might accidentally fly out of my mouth. An issue that comes up pretty frequently in family law is where kids repeat things that they heard mom or dad say, and that is, it's a really common issue. And I can tell you that kids, they will repeat what they hear to anyone that will listen, whether it's a daycare provider, a mediator, a teacher. Sam, do you have any experience with this?
It's funny you asked, actually. I was sitting in court semi-recently, and I was watching a case, and, both counsel were doing a really good job of arguing their client's position, but ultimately the child involved was just really throwing mom under the bus. And the child wasn't in court, but the statements that the child made to mom really, and to dad by extension, really just for lack of a better word, ruined this case for mom, because the child threw mom under the bus about support, that mom had a job and she wasn't telling anyone about, that, her mom had a boyfriend that she's cohabitating with, and so now she's got a lot more money. And, it's a simple thing to think about keeping your children out of it. It's harder to implement, but your children really repeat things, and you can't undo it. Once the cat's out of the bag, it's out of the bag.
And I will say that they keep you honest, because they do. Especially younger children. They have no filter. Tiny ears listen to everything.
And are everywhere.
And they repeat everything. And what's more important, it's not even that the kids will repeat. It's that if you are trying to create a healthy environment between the co-parents and the kids, and you really are trying to make it a safe zone, and you're really trying to progress with where you are at on this new journey that you have created with the new family unit, then don't speak negatively about anybody that's involved in the process, because generally the court has orders in place that refrain either parent from speaking negatively to the children about the other parent or about the process in general.
Yeah, and that's a great point, Kristen. Courts often work from the premise of protecting the children first, and we lose that sometimes, but courts often will order what we call restraints on conduct, preventing parents from talking about the court case with their children, parents from talking bad about other parents, or even as far as talking or allowing third parties to talk bad about another parent. So courts really recognize, and it's easier said than done, but courts recognize that children need to be excluded from the courtroom.
I couldn't say it better. And there's definitely key indicators where it is clear that a parent has been discussing the case with a child.
That's so true.
And a perfect example of this is when you're reading a mediation recommendation and you have a 7-year-old child that talks about visitation in terms of percentages. Because generally, a 7-year-old would never describe his time with his mom or his dad based on percentages. That's just not natural to a child.
And so, Kristen, you're talking about when a child is being interviewed by a mediator, right?
Exactly.
And so there's a limited kind of area around court that a child may be subjected to talking to a licensed family law therapist or some sort of equivalent and asked age-appropriate questions. This is not a child going to court. This is a child talking to somebody about very age-appropriate issues. And a lot of times, unfortunately, we see in those interviews that children know too much, far too much. I want to go to dad's house more. Okay, why? Because mom said that I can't go over there. And so it becomes really obvious.
Yeah, I mean, as attorneys, there are definite clear indications that there is parental alienation going on, that there is negative contact happening, and that one parent is having conversations with a child that either A, are not age appropriate or shouldn't be had at all. And if there is a court order in your case that prevents you from doing those and has those restraints on conduct, there can be some pretty serious consequences.
Like what?
Well, the court can modify the orders if they feel that their order has not gotten through to you and you haven't stopped or ceased the behavior that resulted in the order to begin with.
At some point, could that result in a change in custody?
Absolutely, Sam.
And mediation, custody mediation that is, can have a very extreme effect on your case, and it's going to vary county to county. Some counties are reporting counties, which means that they gather information and provide that information to the judge to assist that judge in ultimately making a decision
or recommendation.
And then other counties are non-reporting, which means the parties must mediate and over the issue of custody, but the court won't have access to that information. So it's very important to know your county and know your judge always, but know your county and know what mediation is in that county and what effect it could have on your case. It's probably an entire other episode Kristen and I could have about the do's and don'ts of mediation.
Yes, someone write that down and make sure that you hire an attorney that knows what they're doing and how that county works, because it is super important. If you are facing mediation in a county that is reporting, that mediator is going to make a recommendation that the trier of fact, which is also known as the judge, will see.
So now we're going to do our CQ court. Today we're going to talk about a very exciting and relevant topic, alcohol and drug use and how it can affect your court case. Kristen's going to play the attorney and her client is Amazing Amy, and I'm going to play the judge. Go ahead, counsel.
Good morning, Your Honor. I represent Amazing Amy, and the issue that is before Your Honor today is about visitation and custody.
Okay,
and
counsel.
Today, my client is asking for primary physical custody, and she is asking for a visitation that provides her with a little bit more time than Dad because of his work schedule. But I really want to just get this out right in the open. Opposing counsel is going to argue today that my client has a drinking problem, that she drinks during the week and she drinks during the weekends. And while she might drink during the weekends, it's just like Friday through Sunday. Sometimes it's just Wednesdays. It's not every day during the week. And if she does drink during the week, she always gets an Uber, and she tries to get home before midnight, and she'll always make sure she gets a babysitter. But I really don't think that her drinking or her personal life should have anything to do with the court orders. And I think if the court looks at all the factors involved in custody and visitation, she should absolutely be granted primary physical custody. And why can't she have some fireball every now and then?
Well, counsel, is this sort of behavior occurring in front of the children or the child?
For the most part, it's done outside of the home, but my client has struggled in the past, and so she might need to take a shot, during the week every now and then.
Counsel, I'm concerned regarding some of these representations. In hearing what you're saying, your client is drinking pretty regularly throughout the week.
Oh, but it's only like 3 days a week. I mean, she really tries to keep it outside of the home.
Has she ever been assessed for any alcohol abuse, or is she attending any classes? Is she taking any steps to show this court that she can safely maintain this child?
Oh, no, she doesn't need to do that, Your Honor.
Well, counsel, I think I'm going to operate with an abundance of caution here, and I think I'm going to order that your client not drink or consume alcohol 12 hours prior to or during any custodial time with a minor child. With that being said, if your client can stay sober and show this court that she, can truly maintain this child, I'm happy to reevaluate that at another time. But based on what I'm hearing, I'm hearing someone significantly drink, and that is of concern, and we want to protect these children.
Thank you, Your Honor. Just to clarify, she can drink, though, during the weekends that she doesn't have the children, correct?
This court is not so concerned about what is occurring outside of her custodial time at this point, and I haven't heard enough evidence to consider that this behavior rises to the level of alcoholism. I'm not overly concerned with your client's behavior outside of her custodial time. However, this can be reviewed at a later date.
Thank you, Your Honor.
So that's all for today. This went by really fast. We hope you guys enjoyed our show. Make sure to tune in next Saturday at 8:30 a.m. on Go Country 105.
And you can find us on CustodyQueensOnAir.com. You can also follow us at Custody Queen Kristen and Samantha McBride.
And you can also call in at 1-800-419-7772. That's 1-800-419-7772. And remember,
Let love rule.